The following stream contains mature content and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the beginning, the Maker formed the angels of the dawn, whose purpose was to carry the will of the Maker with creation. Humankind was our highest, finest, and ultimate creation.
We were commanded to love you as we love the Maker, but ordered to hide ourselves from you. When forced to choose between those two commandments, we chose love. The simple act of revealing ourselves to you was our undoing.
Our love of you led to revolution in the heavens. The merest caress of God's wrath was sufficient to rend the spheres asunder, leaving the world a bruised and battered husk of what was once paradise.
The first murder was man, and our noble warfare turned catastrophic. Thus began the time of atrocities. We ruled the world for countless ages, slaughtering the heavenly host and pulling down their prisons of stone and iron.
But in the end, it all came to naught. The race of Adam and Eve buckled from the weight of revelation and turned their backs to us. With the war lost, we expected destruction.
But the Almighty had a far more terrible fate in store. He condemned us to darkness eternal, an endless, empty existence devoid of purpose. In the end, our sacrifice was forgotten because history is always written by the victors.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Demon: The Road to Hell live cast Q&A. I am, of course, the storyteller of this game, Shanky McStabber, who is completely not in costume because, well, this is the Q&A.
I'm the Clockwork Goddess on Twitch, and I played Vivian Ash, or Synthrazial the Devil.
And I am Mama McStabber on Twitch, and I played Virginia Waugh, or Arazeth the Scourge.
Hey, I'm Maddox. I played Carsador the Malefactor / Clark Miller the Reporter.
Hi, I'm Mischievous Red, and I play Nibas the Fiend, or Alice Elizabeth.
Hello, I am the Ivy Raven, and I played Trimdesiel, who possessed Kathleen Stone.
And as we do at the end of any of the chronicles I run at the end of each season. I'm sorry, I missed somebody. God damn it, I'm distracted. I'm sorry. Now, Corey is now storyteller.
Wow.
I will answer all questions as Drulariel the Slayer.
Devastating.
Going from
Sorry, see, that's what happens when I'm not listening.
The player, come on,
But
dude.
that's what happens when I'm not listening and I'm busy checking audio levels live and I'm not paying attention.
It's okay. I'm pretty quiet and easy to forget. I forgive you. I am unconscious celestial, and I played Juliriel the Slayer, who possessed Michelle Mars Porter.
Don't forget
And
me.
you are not easy to
No,
forget.
Don't forgive me. Give me shit about it. I want to get shit about it for the next year at least. Because,
Give him shit. Give him
I
shit.
deserve it for that. What
Come on,
happens when I'm not
Shanky,
paying
what are you
attention?
doing?
I will cheer
What are you
you
doing?
on. I will be in your corner.
And as we always do at the end of these chronicles, we like to do a cast Q&A to give the viewers a chance to ask questions. I know generally we're always willing to answer questions on Twitch in the Discord, but a lot of people prefer to get them live to hear everybody at once sitting around the table. So here we go. This is where we're at. Now, my wife will be taking over as the moderator officially of the Q&A, because otherwise you won't get shit out of me, because I'll constantly talk.
He'll constantly be reading chat and be like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Look, sometimes that's how it be, okay?
I will say we did have one question from Discord. Actually, a couple questions from Discord. This one was by Miser Mark. How will Carsador and his niece react to each other when they meet at the park? Since he remembers that a bit of Virginia's daughter noticing the truth of Eriseth behind the eyes. When the child points this out, how will the parents react? So I think it's a 2-part question. Basically, first for Maddox to answer from Carsador's perspective. If that happens, if she recognizes, how will Carsador react? And then for Shanky as ST to discuss how that may play out.
Well, Carsador is conflicted about meeting his niece, because on one hand, repair the rift that Clark left in his family, because dude. But then by the exact same token, Carsador's thought process comes down to, I want to repair this damage, but I also don't want to interact with an innocent. Because by his thought process, I'm damned. I literally fell from the heavenly host. I shouldn't interact with children. And that's been his thought process from possession day one, is I can't exist in the same space as youth because it is too innocent and I will corrupt it by my very presence. So he's very nervous about meeting his niece, but also in small ways interested because it, as I said, furthers his goal of repairing the family.
From the storyteller's point of view, I don't know if she would notice or not yet. That would be a roll I make during the scene. I prefer to wait until the scene happens and then roll the dice to see what the results are. So I would roll it in the scene, but odds were I was going to have her with a crucifix when she come to meet you the first time. That was holy. Just because I enjoy watching Carsador there, Maddox, role play that, being uncomfortable around it.
He is so good at squirming.
Comes from a lot of personal practice.
You'll find as storyteller, I do that a lot. I don't always decide how something like that will happen in scene. I roll it in the scene at the moment so that the dice at the moment determine, and then we roll from there. That way it's organic and it's, not pre-planned.
All right. So Complicated Evan says, are we expecting crossover to other campaign? Is everything connected?
They exist. This is complicated. When we first planned this, we had planned it to be set in the Windy City universe, canon to the main Windy City Chronicle. We had planned to, there was going to be rules on the players about don't go murder Portia, because that would break the canon for Windy City. And then I had the bright idea of, I planned to run the Days of Fire storyline, the End of Times. And to do that, to do the End of Times, if you're familiar with it, it ends in the end of time. So I can't exactly run that and maintain the Windy City canon. So this particular story is an offshoot of Windy City canon. It is an alternate timeline, you might say. That is why you heard familiar names. Ben Way was brought up. That was one that's from the other one. There's familiar aspects to it, but this is its own separate split of the timeline, because what's going to happen as we go into later seasons of Demon is going to end this campaign world. There is no survival in the end for this particular campaign world.
I remember, I think it was you at one point saying that, like, there are fragments of things that are true in, like, the Windy City story, like, setup, but we are different enough because of, you know, the whole end time shtick, that it's different enough that we can still run that sort of story.
Right. It's
Like you and I talked about at one point, I think, of Carsador making the vampire hating daggers.
Yep.
Is very much a thing.
Yep.
But beyond like little things like that, you don't have like a whole lot of connection.
right. For those that watched Windy City, the daggers designed to kill Cain were made by Carsador, the ones that pop up in Windy City. There is a lot of commonalities. It's essentially like up until when the demons broke free of their prison, the timelines were the same. At the moment the demons broke the prison and come out, that's where I split the timeline off, and that's why there's some differences. And it's going to get more and more different as we push forward, because for the Kindred, they never see Lucifer in the sky. But for this chronicle, they will.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm excited.
But yes, you will find, Complicated Evan, that most of our World of Darkness games that Shanky runs, and he even ties it into some that others run, like Werewolf and Mage and stuff like that, that basically they are all kind of part of what we call the Shankyverse. Think of it kind of like the Marvel universe, but like Marvel, sometimes we have some offshoot realms. So that's what Demon fits in, as an offshoot realm.
Even Chronicles,
Chronicles of
Black Death Chronicles,
Mhm.
Chronicles of Darkness game
Yeah.
that Tam run,
Mhm.
and also Stuffed were set in the Shankyverse, because I've had references to both of those.
Right.
Your boy Twitch is common to all of them.
We do that as a little throwback to other games that have been run on our channel. So, yeah. Astral asks, Cast and ST, what was the most emotionally challenging scene you all played through? Let's start with Unconscious Celestial.
Honestly, I would have to say the very first, the possession scenes. That was probably the most emotionally challenging. More so just because getting into character and feeling all of that, not necessarily the dying aspect, but taking over. That, at least that was for me. So
I was actually gonna say like my like possession scene too was also really emotionally challenging for me. It was like the first time I've ever had a role playing like situation where I've actually cried during. And like everything was fine, and like it wasn't like that Shanky like pushed boundaries or anything. It was just like that was how intense of a scene it was. It was a heartbreaking moment in someone's life. I just repeated over and over and over again. And it was really fun to do, but it was like emotionally challenging.
Whoever wants to go next.
I was
All
just
right,
gonna say,
oh, well.
yeah, quick
Yeah.
peek behind the scene for me. The role player. I'm not great at doing emotionality. I actually do a lot of like switching into different personas and masks and things when I role play, and that's a holdover from tons of trauma, a lifetime of trauma, and those lifetimes of trauma were meant to hold back emotions and hide them. So a lot of times my characters don't show emotion, or it feels like they're very kind of like outwardly dead. The scene with Rivka at the end of the season finale was probably the most quote unquote emotional for my character because of what was going on. I tried to show that the character was showing some emotion with in episode 9 with the saying that she was kind of teary-eyed, but I didn't show that. But yeah, I think the season finale was probably had the scene for my character that would be the most emotional. So for me, the player, none of it necessarily was that emotional. Even the possession scene, I was just kind of like, yay.
Oh god, I had a lot of emotional scenes. My character was very weepy. But if I had to
Not
pick,
all emotions are the tearful ones.
yeah,
They were all
that is
so
fair.
good, though. Let's be
Oh.
honest, they were great.
Thank you. I really, oh God, probably the ending scene from her with tearing shit up in her own house and crying out to the heavens and all that fun stuff, and then getting that response from frickin' Lucifer. So that was pretty emotional for her. And a big turning point in her existence. So yeah, that was definitely probably one. But a secondary one would be when the boss gave her a attack of PTSD from her trauma. So that was great.
Honestly, for Arazeth, I think one of the most emotional scenes was taking Virginia's kids to camp. Arazeth, when she's amongst her demon companions, is a totally different being than what she is around her kids, or Virginia's kids, I should say. That's something she's always wanted. Always. And couldn't. And now she has them. And knowing that she took them to camp at that time, she also knew about the red star spotted in the sky. She knows her time with them is very limited, but she decided to still let them go to camp to protect them from the stuff going on in the city. And that was hard for her. She played it off, Eskimo kisses or buoy nose, as I like to call it, and, teasing them and stuff. But that was really hard for her to let them go like that.
This is going to sound like absolute horseshit, but I promise it's not. I didn't have any emotional difficulties this season. I was completely in control of everything I reacted with and all that stuff at every moment that I played Carsador. So nothing felt especially emotionally taxing, from my side of things. By comparison to everyone else's, I feel my possession was rather tame and restrained. And playing a person who, while having emotions, isn't in touch with them in any significant way, his emotionality, I didn't have to make all that complex, because it was just, all right, this would piss me off, this would calm me down. I had to apply a pragmatic outlook onto emotions for Carsador. So I think that colored my reactions for how I played him for the whole season. So nothing was especially difficult for me emotionally in this, because most of the time I was just, vacillating between incredibly furious and cold. So
As something of the earth would.
For me, I didn't have anything I'd call incredibly emotional for me, because I'm one of those people who put the mask on, take the mask off, put the mask on. I'm rarely ever affected with the game. But I will say, non-emotionally, the most difficult thing for me to do this whole season was the one-on-ones, the possession scenes, because some of the players here I've played with everybody here, but this was a new game, a new system, and doing scenes that emotionally charged and that skirting trigger limits on everybody, and trying not to violate them, but still giving the best scenes we can get out of it. That was, as a storyteller, that was nerve-wracking and anxiety-inducing on my part. It was tough to do, but I love the finished product, what we came out with. But it was so hard not to, to try to make sure I didn't cross that line, because you don't want to traumatize the players. You traumatize characters all the time. You don't traumatize players. There's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Junie asked a pop culture question. Did anyone want to quote the song Sympathy for the Devil at all during the play?
constantly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like not even a joke. Rolling Stones played in my head a lot when we were playing
Please
Demon.
allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
Given the makeup of this table, what was stuck in my head every episode was demons are a girl's best friend.
Another good one.
Yes.
Given the
yes!
makeup of the table, there's no way I couldn't have that song stuck in my head.
More power wolf, more power wolf, more power wolf.
I would have used it for the intro if I wouldn't have been copyright struck for doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been a favorite song of mine ever since I was sort of young. And it, like, you know, people used to ask me, like, hey, if you were a baseball player, what's your up to bat theme? And I said, Sympathy for the Devil, like every single time without fail. So yeah, that Junie has been playing in my head for the entirety of this show.
I gave Alice her own playlist, like I did with like Isabella, and it has a lot of like devil themed songs on it, and so it's a lot of play on words, but not that one, unfortunately.
It's such a good song. It's such a good song. All right. I don't see any other questions. Does the cast have any questions for fellow players?
Absolutely, I do.
Definitely.
So, rock, paper, scissors through the delay of Zoom to figure out who asks first.
Just go. You
All right.
said it
Rochambeau?
first.
No, that's different.
Rochambeau!
Never mind.
Nah, that ends badly. It usually ends in pain. It's a very
Usually?
basic question, but I always love getting ideas on this stuff because I love figuring out why people choose options for things. What led you to choose the house, and even the more specific, like, house within the house, or the, like, specific lore that you did for your character? Like, I'm sure some of you thought of it ahead of time, or just immediately was like, all right, that sounds fun, or whatever, but I'm just curious to see what made you decide, yes, this is who I want to be for this show.
I thought about the vessel, the human that my demon would be possessing, and what I wanted that vessel to be. And that kind of shaped the path that led me to which house that would be, what lores would be primary versus secondary. Yeah, so like with Arazeth, I picked, because when I first started contemplating a demon character, I was tied between a scourge and a defiler. And because both would be something I'd be comfortable playing, you know? And then I got into it, and I'm like, now thinking about the human, which is something that we do in all of Shanky's Chronicles, is we create the person first that becomes the supernatural. So thinking about it that way in my character creation, I was like, okay, if I'm thinking about the human that my demon possesses, this is going to be a nurse that hates her job. She is burnt the fuck out. She has 2 kids. She's a widow. She's single mom and struggling hard. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of demon would be attracted to a person like this? And I thought definitely a scourge. The guardian angels, the one that were entrusted with the breath of life. You know, I definitely was like, okay, that's where we're going to go. And then I decided, okay, what would be her primary? A lot of scourges will take wind because that's their most combat, really, capable. But I ended up going with Lore of Awakening as primary first, the healer. But what you can heal, you can also disease. So, but yeah, so I did, that's how I built that. I thought about the person first.
Mine was very much the story I wanted to tell, and which house kind of fit into that the best. I wanted to pick something that was very beguiling and was also in a position of authority, and through that position of authority might have been traumatized or harmed or had suffered because of that. So Devil was kind of a natural fit for both of those things. And starting at like a higher torment, and being able to have a story that's like, you were a leader, you're kind of a broken mess now because you fucked up and everything is ruined. So that's kind of the story beats I'm wanting to hit, and I'm looking forward to in subsequent seasons, hopefully building from the base that we established in season one, and I think that that'll be really enjoyable. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking.
And speaking of subsequent, I can't even say the word. Speaking of later seasons, because I can't talk, we will discuss that during this Q&A. We will be announcing some of that.
I guess for me, I think what came first was what I wanted the angel to have had a part in of creation. To me, that felt like a good central point that I could really use to tie the human and the angel together. Um, and so then they could have in common. Uh, at least that's kind of the way I took it. Like they don't have to have it in common, but it seemed like a good unifying point story wise for me. And so that led to the what house would be the best for the creation of nightmares. Um, Nightmares are something that I have always had, um, and most people experience in some point in their lives, but they've always been of like interest to me. So I really wanted to use something to explore that. So it kind of went from that both ways out to develop what the demon looked like, and then what the human looked like. Um, so then human went to having a very traumatic background where they relive things in their nightmares. And the hard to say why I went with like the childhood trauma, like it is like as intense as I did. I don't regret it. I don't know why I went that far. I didn't need to, but like it was interesting and it made for a good story, I think, to go that far. And it really showed just like how much that would affect you. And then backing into the house, like which one would really be responsible for doing that and how would it function? So it ended up being fiends because illusions is like pretty big for dreams. You're creating like worlds within worlds and illusions. But also the lesser aspect to dreams that people don't think about, which is kind of why they're so important, is that they're the recognition of patterns or how your mind processes information. And so that's why illusions primary and then patterns secondary.
I could not come up with a demon character to save my fucking life. It's a new system, it's a new lore, it's new whatever. It's a lot of stuff that I was struggling to wrap my head around mightily. And so I was just churning out, like I was reading the wiki on the daily. Like I would just go to the wiki, I would read the class, I would read all the different houses or whatever. And I would go through and I was like, okay, this house does this house does this. Like, what are the things, the key things of that different houses and stuff. So I started cranking out human ideas and then trying to figure out like where that human would fall in what house and stuff. Or I would try and be like, I'm gonna pick this house, what's a human that would work with this house or make more sense, because it's kind of the same mentality of like with the vampires and how the clans typically will pick somebody that would fall more in the sphere of what that clan interacts with. And so I was kind of doing the same thing with demons. And everybody else had already kind of picked what they wanted to play, and so I was like, well, I'm not doubling up, so what's left? And so that kind of finally solidified it down, because I had a defiler and I had a devourer idea, and no one really seemed to care about the devourer idea, so I said, screw it, I'll play the defiler idea. And yeah.
For me, I'd actually gone a bit in the way of wanting to have a variety of
houses. So I had originally was looking at Fiend, and it's actually kind of funny because I was actually looking at dreams for the creation rather than nightmares. But then,
Great minds.
yeah, but then
There's a reason why our characters got along so well.
That's true. But Mischievous Bride came out with her ID first, so I was kind of like, okay, well, what kind of works for me? And I was like looking, and then I actually heard this song as I was like thinking about it named Michelle. And when I was listening to it, it gave me just this like concept, like I could just see this person just like in like a bar singing with like the mic and stuff, like. And I was like, okay, so that works really well for the human character. Where can I really go from there that would connect with this person? And I created the storyline for this person. And actually, Shaky and Rylin helped me with that, where they're kind of like, okay, well, here's something that might, par along with that. And so from there, we figured Slayer, and then the whole just identifying with betrayal and not feeling love, like not being loved and stuff. So that's how I got mine.
I'll also be honest, I was like crossing my fingers when I heard the cast. I was like, oh, please, one of us be a Slayer. One of us be a Slayer. Because I feel that they are actually a very necessary fallen to have in any group of demons, because the dead are an ever-present thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And death is an ever-present thing.
But I do want to give a special shout out to the Ivy Raven for creating Trimdeziel the Defiler and Kathleen Stone. I know a lot of your personal experience or knowledge went into this character, but the way you delivered the character, out of all 6 of these demons, your character is the humanity of the group. Truly the humanity of the group. And they needed that more often than not, because
Also, your reactions to our overreactions with just flat exasperation was always
It was-
beautiful.
chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Nivas and Synthosriel are hot messes.
Yeah.
They need you.
Yes. Being the
Please,
the-
fame.
being the moral compass for a group is fucking pain in the ass.
Yes,
listen.
it is.
Which I kind of already knew based on my real life experiences of being like moral compass / like anchor for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a pain in the fucking ass. And it's difficult because like everybody was behind the scenes was like kill your ex-husband, go and show your
Fuck him
angelic,
up.
show your
Fuck him
angelic
up.
form, splatter him across the walls. And I'm like, I'm a Faustian who is a psychiatrist. I can't do that.
Storyteller didn't let us play Raveners, but our PCs that were portraying the characters are kind of ravenous.
Yeah. It's the same thing with like, I wanted to smack Rivka. Can't do that. Like there is
could
that
still
element where
let
you
your
wanna, like,
torment
grab
out
somebody.
a little.
Yeah.
What do you want to no, because you want to look, a psychiatrist does not grab somebody and shake them and say, figure it out, you fuck ass.
That'll be in another
Honestly,
season.
That might
No,
work
that
for
costs
at least one of my
extra.
sessions.
Okay. That costs extra.
That's your
Yeah.
side job, not your psychiatry job. That's your side hustle.
But no, I
fine.
love the character. I really do, because the other characters need that grounding influence. That, hey, wait a minute. You sure you want to do that? That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I love the character so much.
We still need to hear Maddox's answer. though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say she
Oh,
can only
yeah.
be so much of an anchor. So
Well, anchors can only reach so far before they hit the bottom. All right. Because I'm a giant nerd, we were halfway through season 1 of Werewolf Phoenix's Call. Check it out. And we just wrapped up the episode, and I think someone had mentioned Demon the Fallen or something at some point somehow. So I hopped on the wiki and then just got lost for like 4 hours. Reading through every lore, every house, every bit about creation, how it all went down. Getting the book, same book that later got corrupted and I lost. So that was fun to retrieve. But ultimately, it came down to I picked it because of all the houses, the third house with the malefactors were a type of character I don't play normally, which is something that is more grounded and like centered, not necessarily like flighty or chaotic or anything like that, but more regimented. And then I hyper focused on lore of paths because the concept of just like it, I think it says in the demon book somewhere, the only reason that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line is because the demon said that's what was the shortest. And then lore of paths said, yeah, that doesn't apply to me anymore. And just the ability to circumvent obstacles while simultaneously not like legally being allowed to drive because my character is colorblind, which never really came up, but was such an entertaining idea to me, and I just ran with it. And then for the human side, malefactors often possess people who are scared, desperate, sad, or lonely, and that's the main categories they search for in their hosts. Clark was desperate. In this case, he was obsessed about gaining information, ruining people's lives, learning about things, and more hoarding information for himself to then later use against other people. Like, he wasn't like entirely corrupt, but he definitely slandered people who didn't deserve it. And then that obsession of I need to know, I need to figure it out, then also informed me of Carsador being a cryptic, because if you possess someone obsessed with information, you've got to be a little obsessed with information yourself.
And
so that was the main decisions I came up with.
I love how everyone had a different approach they came to why they picked their house. On the same thing about the faction, first spoiler of the evening, season 2 is going to focus on more of the factions involved with demons. It didn't really come up in season 1 because, well, there's not many demons in the world. Season 2, more of them will be present in the world, and we're going to show more of the faction side of what it means as a member of the demons. You know, you got to deal with your faction.
All right, Astral asks of the Clockwork Goddess, after hearing what is assumed to be Lucifer's voice in that last session, after calling for him over Angel Wire, how does Synthraziel feel? Will she reveal the revelation to her compatriots?
That is a very interesting question. I very much think for Synthraziel, that was a sort of break point for her. She's very traumatized, and I think that is essentially like the rock bottom part of dealing with that trauma. From here, she has to make a decision on where her allegiances lie. If she could ever bring herself to forgive Lucifer for abandoning them, in her opinion, what she wants to do to try and fix things, because she's currently a reconciler. We'll see if that holds over the course of the next few seasons. But yeah, she's pretty broken right now, so she's definitely struggling. And as for whether or not she would reveal it, she kind of already did. Mm-hmm. She came straight out and said, "It's him. I know it's him. I can guarantee it." And then the rest of the party then saw the red comet in the sky. So she might not have been explicit, but she said so. So yeah, it's a hell of a thing for her, and she's a hell of a thing. That's kind of funny.
Pun intended.
I hate you for that pun.
But the problem is they're unavoidable because hell is a very common word in our culture.
Yep.
Exactly.
I still remember in the audition where you're just like God's gift to Earth, and like
Yeah.
it was still like such a good line for you.
Yeah, it was I only have what God gave me or something like that for
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah.
And somehow we still made it through the cast because I hate puns. At least that's what I claim, and that's the story I'm sticking to.
But yeah, so that's kind of her thoughts
That's
on
an
it.
excellent question, though. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. That was a good one.
Okay, and then Astral also asks, what scenes did the cast and storyteller most enjoy playing through? Okay, I'm going to go first because I don't even have to think about it. I know it. The scene of the angel wire call to Ragden. That was fucking fun. Putting that bastard in his fucking place. That was fucking fun.
It also shows that all of us malefactors are equally terrible with people,
Yeah.
whether they're fallen or human.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that it wasn't just me. It was like, yes, see, I'm not the only one who fucks with these things. Everyone else is getting like, he's so cold, but no. Then there's Ragdan, who's just overly eccentric.
And still an asshole because
And
he
still
doesn't
an
pick up.
asshole.
He doesn't think
And still an
social
absolute
cues.
asshole.
Right.
Yeah. Like, fuck. If Clark had said the same thing, you would have had to put him in his place too, because he wouldn't have seen the problem.
No, that was just a lot of fun to play. It was so brief. It was such a little thing, but that really was fun to flex a bit with my character and be like, "Oh no, bitch. Oh no."
What's funny is I still technically work for him too.
Technically.
I think for me, it would have to be the scene where Arazeth and Nivas go back to the airport to investigate. And actually, all the airport scenes with the both of them were very fun to play. Because the first time around, she's like, "It's your fault. Like, deal with it."
Yeah.
Which is like, I knew it's what she needed to be told, but I'm just like,
To actually
one of those
hear
times-
that.
it's like, how do you respond to that? Because you know it's right, and it's just like you don't have a defense for it. So that was good. It was like one of the only times I've been like speechless in character because it's like there's nothing I can say because it's right. The second one, like, though I thought was fun was like the conversations with the lupine and like trying to figure out what that relationship looks like, because Arazeth and Nibas had such different approaches to it. I thought that was really fun to play. Because like for Nibas and Alice, like for Nibas, like cryptic, like, oh, this is something that we have no idea what the fuck is. Like,
Let's
what you're talking
investigate.
about.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, let's get more information.
Yeah.
Like,
And Arazeth is like, "What the fuck are you? We didn't make you."
no. And then the other side, like, Alice is like, damn, this would be great for a movie. So like, really into it. And just like having like the Arazeth like play off of that.
Yeah, no,
Just like,
I
no,
agree.
Whatever.
That was ridiculously fun. Yeah, I love when I can play to my character's flaws a bit. Arazeth does have a flaw of being brutally honest. And she is blunt. She has low empathy. She doesn't have the strongest of communication skills. She is legit blunt, direct, and she doesn't give a shit about hurting your feelings, you know? And she's going to tell you what's what. But one thing about a person or character like that is anybody else that interacts with them are always going to know where they stand with her, you know? And it's fun to play to the flaws with Arazeth in that way, because I don't play a lot of characters that are really to that extreme. And it's a lot of fun. And yes, it was hard for me in that first scene to be that blunt with Nibos because it was so harsh. It was just harsh. And I was like, but it's the truth, and that's what my character would say. But I felt so bad after. I'm like, are you okay?
Also, man, Shanky, I gotta admit with that scene, you punched me in the face by saying exactly one word. Garal.
Oh yeah.
Exactly one werebear in the state of Chicago, I'm sure, in the city of Chicago, I'm sure. And it still scared the fuck out of me for the implications. Like, why is there a bear here? They're the healers. Why is he being so aggressive? Why is he being such a dick? Just so many questions. Huh.
Got to remember, they still have the same problem all of them have. None of them know what a demon is yet, but when they find out, it's not going to end well.
No, most shifters are kind of ragey. Except the coyotes, but they have a different excuse.
Yeah, they're not. It's not going to end well once they
All
figure
right.
it out.
So, favorite scene that you played out.
Oh God, I've got two, and they're polar opposites. So the first one is in the very first episode when Synthraziel got a brand new demon to say his true name to her entire party. That was the Siren Queen. And she felt so very powerful in that moment. And as a player, that felt amazing. It's like, yeah, they're a new demon, but, they can give me their true name now. And then on the opposite side, I think this was an episode either 3 or 4, failing the lustful role and immediately tangling up with a drug dealer and all the hijinks that ensued from that. I thought that was very funny.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
So I thought that was very funny to come down the stairs afterwards and go, what happened? What? I was busy.
Busy, yeah. No, getting busy, I think.
So yeah, those were definitely the best individual moments I thought that were very fun.
For me, I actually kind of have two as well. I actually had the most fun going to Benway's with Clark. That was just it shocked the hell out of me because it was like, well, that escalated quickly.
He shouldn't have pissed me off. Quit existing, you fucking vampire.
And the second one was fighting the final fight. I don't know why, but it was fun to actually be able to do something with my powers. So yeah.
That's valid.
Sorry, I couldn't remember if Clark went there, Maddox went, but I'm gonna go just in case. I didn't want to do 2. It's kind of hard. I feel like there's 2 quickly. Just the demon call between Trimdeziel and Synthraziel, like the day after Synthraziel broke down because of the vision that Nabos did. I feel like that was important. It was really good. It was one of those scenes that kind of really show that Trimdeziel maybe wasn't necessarily Trimdeziel so much as Kathleen in that moment. The second one was probably going and seeing Kathleen's ex-husband, mostly because I spent the whole season being very calm and collected, and then I told myself, I went into that scene saying, don't say fuck, and I said fuck like 40 fucking times. So yeah, I was
the exit, just bring it out of people.
I kept telling myself, I was like, be calm, don't say fuck. You haven't said fuck all season. And then he opened the door, and I was just like, you fucking prick. Like,
fuck you.
Leave it to an ex to get under your fucking skin. Okay.
So yeah.
Am I the one left?
No, I think Maddox needs to go.
Right, sorry.
Good, I'm going last.
Of the 2 times it really happened, 2 to 3, anytime I had to take Carsador to go visit the family was always fun. especially when I learned that somehow his sister is being fed reconciler propaganda as a human. And just any of the conversations she had where it was like a person saying anyone can be redeemed, talking to a literal fallen angel, and just me having to stand there and go, yeah, hypothetically, that's true. and then just being such a pushback on it the whole time until eventually just being like, all right, this human's too pure for me to try and like refute, so let's just hug her and not make eye contact. But any time speaking with his sister was always very entertaining to me, just because it took what I love about the World of Darkness, which is the mundanity of existence and the extraordinary like setup of existence, and smashed them into the same sandwich. So
I had a couple. I enjoyed with Synthrazio when I hit her with Lucifer answering. That was a great scene, just watching her reaction. With Erzeth, I love the scene with the kids. That was some
That
good
was such
shit.
a touching scene.
That was just good to see the other side of it. And the way you played off when your daughter saw through what you were. And corollary to that was when you came home and found the picture she had drawn of Mama with tattered wings. I thought that was great. Yeah, I loved you going to visit Benway for Clark. Loved it.
That was so good.
Loved
See,
it.
I'm convinced that's why his eyes do that thing now.
Yeah, I loved
Immediate
it.
revelation. Immediate. Get away from me, you dead thing.
I didn't even realize he would revelate. I thought being supernatural, it would just wash over him.
Nope. They got to make a willpower. And I botched, for the viewers that don't understand, I botched the roll on his willpower roll. I flat out botched. No successes and a bunch of ones.
Where did he end up running to? I'd love to know.
He stopped
Just like
running
home?
about maybe a mile down the road. He blinked about a mile down the road. Just kept blinking and blinking.
See, folks, that's celerity for you.
Yep. For you, Nabas, I love the scene, you coming to grips with what you did with the motorcycle accident. And I'll admit, I love the other scene of you're driving fast. Do you have any drive skill? No, 0 dots. Okay.
To be
Nah, I
fair,
suck at this.
So you can drive normally without any dots to drive. It's anything more than normal. And to be fair, she is kind of a daredevil.
Right.
Um,
I love that. That was just the whole way it played out. I just loved. For Drundeziel, I did love the scene with your ex-husband. I loved watching the way you tried to deal with an
so
obviously
brilliant.
unstable man, that he's unstable as hell, but he knows the truth. Kind of.
God, that guy's a fucking bastard.
And Drulariel, I'll be fair, I loved every time I brought Neptune into it. His obvious attention and feelings for you is a parallel that mirrors the same thing you went through that caused you to possess that body. The unrequited love. You are not interested in him. It is, your character's a lesbian. He has 0 chance. But he still can't give it. He still can't let go of that hope, that want, that praying that, reality can be different. And I love it as a parallel to what your character goes through at the same time. I really do. I think it's I know it's a running joke of, well, he's wishing for something he can never have, but that's the point. That is why he's like that.
Yep. Yeah, there were some really just great scenes this season. There were really just a lot of great scenes. We had an amazing table of players that delivered some really great scenes. Great Cthulhu does ask, and I know Shanky addressed this in Twitch chat, but did anyone attempt to make the angel who created puns in an attempt to torture Shanky?
Oh, damn it.
Missed
Now that you say
opportunity.
that, I briefly considered the angel who created humor, but not puns. I guess that wouldn't have anything to do with puns. So
Yeah, because that would have been a short-lived character. You'd have gone through a few thralls before the end of that season.
So what did you
Somebody
make in
gets shot.
creation?
Somebody gets shot. Let me roll a die. Yeah, it's you.
See, they would have just stacked themselves to be resistant to every form of damage, physical and mental, so that way you couldn't kill them.
Oh, I'm the storyteller.
I can always kill them.
It wouldn't have been a baby Earthbound. It would have been a little
You
bit
fall
older.
off a cliff. Yeah, but I got +1 armor.
You're toast.
You're toast.
Cool.
Sorry,
you
Bob,
Are well
you're
guard-
toast.
You are well guarded, paced on the sidewalk.
You just gotta give him the. All right, let me roll to see if it hits you. It hits you.
Yeah.
All right, complicated Evan does ask another question. Your character would become earthbound. What item would they inhabit or what would they become? Ooh.
Could you imagine if your boss became a video camera?
Oh my god!
Oh,
The
wow.
normally you're earthbound into something finely created. It'd have to be one hell of a video camera.
I don't know. There's some
Don't
out
ruin
there.
my dreams.
Don't hurt my dreams.
She'd be inhabiting the $30,000 camera at the time.
Currently, Karzador is afraid of even just like going into high torment, let alone like being, losing any connection to what makes him remotely safe for people. So honestly, if he died and saw there was no way out, he'd just suck it up and head back to the abyss, probably. But
You
if-
would possess. Clark
if
would
he
possess
absolutely
one of the
had
holy
to.
items. He'd be just
Ooh.
the height of being in pain constantly from the holy item.
He would
And
torment
Earthbound.
himself.
Yeah, and Earthbound just beating the shit out of himself by existing in an item he can't.
Oh,
Or
God.
or I would also argue a very finely drawn map.
What about one of your
Something
daggers?
that is
That's a brilliant
those are
idea.
finely made.
Yeah.
That dagger would be a lot more dangerous afterwards, though.
So in a parallel timeline, one of those cane daggers might have Carsador in it.
Might have Corsador in it.
might have a fucking earth demon stuck inside it, and God, throw that thing into the lake where it belongs. Actually, no, don't get the lake spirit one of those.
No. Oh.
Anyone else?
I've got a meme answer and then like a real answer. The meme answer would be like a finely made real doll.
Which you animate from time to time? It'd be Mannequin,
Exactly.
the movie Mannequin all over
Hey,
again.
there you go.
Exactly. The real answer is probably something closer to like a very finely made like statue of Kali, a demon goddess, something like that, in order to work from there. So that would be the two that would definitely work.
That's a good one.
Mhm.
I have this no idea. Sorry, I just don't.
The problem is with how you set up both Tremdeziel and Kathleen. Anything that you would possess object-wise, I don't see as working, just based on the fact that you worked with people far too well, and so to be anything else, I feel, would be truly the biggest insult to what Tremdeziel was.
The only thing I could think of is like the personal journal of like a psychologist and like their notes that they've taken like over patients. But even then, like that's still like
I don't think there's really a whole lot of like finely crafted journals floating around Chicago or anywhere though. So
you can hand make a journal. Some people would do that.
It'd
Takes
be
a
a
lot longer than you'd
short-lived
want.
reliquary, though, because it would break. It'd be easier to destroy, but
For me, I don't think Drew Lyriel would even consider the thought. But in the hypothetical sense, just whatever the hell is the closest.
I could see Drew Lyriel going into a mausoleum.
Earthbound can actually inhabit places, not just a single item. The ones who inhabit places are the hardest ones to dislodge because you have to totally unmake the place or at least destroy it so it's no longer the place it was to get rid of them.
That's my theory.
Those are
about
built
Mr.
to
Set.
endure.
That's my theory personally about Mr. Set all my servants on fire because it's convenient.
Mm-hmm. That is a really tough question for me. I honestly think if Eriseth were to ever become earthbound, it would probably be in an old stone windmill. Somewhere where she could feel the wind.
It's a tough one too, because when you get the choice to become an earthbound, it's at the moment.
Mhm.
So for those that don't understand the mechanics of demon, what happens when your when your human body is slain, your host body, you have three options. You can go to one of your other thralls. If one is in a number of miles equal to your faith score, your permanent faith score, you can return to the abyss, or you can inhabit something nearby. Now, if you're a smart demon, you keep a thrall at all times within a couple miles from you.
Mhm.
That's just planning, especially if you're going to be in danger. But if you are unlucky and that doesn't work, you got to hope there's an item you can actually possess close enough for you to even get into. Otherwise, you go back to the abyss, or you have the demon version of Diablerie. You can have your celestial essence eaten by another one of your fallen, which is horrifying in some ways, and it's worse than you can imagine compared to Diablerie even.
That was a good question.
Also,
Agreed.
Diablerie wishes it was as good as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
completely unmade,
Yeah.
and the other person subsumes everything that made you what you were. Your true name changes immediately.
Yep.
Because you're not the one you were anymore. You're the combination of both now. It's
It's
a
a
big
really
deal.
weird like merging absorption as opposed to just like stealing their power.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like an amalgamation.
Okay.
And it's pretty abominable.
Yeah, it is. It is. Astral has a question for the Ivy Raven. How is Tremdeziel reconciling her business/psychiatrist side with her being as a demon? And how worried is she about the sudden cancellations of appointments?
So on the cancellations thing, she's fucking worried because she doesn't know why. And now that she knows that there is a second Earthbound that is apparently stronger, she's kind of actually worried that that might be the reason why people are canceling, that it was all puppet mastery, like on their part, as it were, which has its own set of problems because she does require her business to stay alive. Canceling appointments constantly or kicking them back further in the day is not something that Tremdeziel likes to do. She does want to help the people, so that was why I always tried to make the point of showing that every time the group wanted to do something, I immediately said, I find a payphone or I find a phone, I contact the office. I want to make sure that like a little bit of my schedule is cleared, or I can do this on my lunch break or something like that, because I didn't want to constantly be canceling appointments, which are not being shown on screen, but was important for the character. Especially because when we came into this, Shanky had mentioned repeatedly that we're supposed to be showing kind of like our human lives and our demon lives, and how do we reconcile both of those at the same time. And so I was trying to do that by showing that, like, hey, I would like to make sure that, you know, my patient load is not just going to zero, because if it goes to zero, yeah, my flaws really kick in then. So
Yeah, that's a good question.
All right. It looks like there are no other questions. Are there more questions from the cast? Okay, go for it, Evie.
Absolutely. If you had an inspiration for your apocalyptic form, what was it? And what elements of it do you draw towards your apocalyptic form to make it yours?
I went with, for the High Torment, I was highly inspired by Kali. Highly inspired. Because of her, all that is attributed to her I saw that in the High Torment version of Arazeth. The Low Torment version, the main thing I really wanted for her customization for that, and I did customize it because most of the scourges have owl wings. I wanted hers to be a hawk because hawks are a little more streamlined. They are highly efficient at what they do. And I felt like that was much more appropriate for her in the Low Torment form. Not, owls are like a symbol of wisdom and stuff, which is great, but hawks are the go-getters. And that's what Arazeth is.
Mine was exceptionally easy. I read the description for the apocalyptic forms of the Ontu within the Malefactor house, and then read it off anytime I turned into it.
Fair enough.
I liked the apocalyptic forms for Malefactors too much to want to customize my own.
That is fair.
For me, like mine was also the description that was in the book a little bit, because I wanted her to be a living nightmare. And kind of just like that shifting illusion of like fear and darkness, and honestly the way the book described it hit the nail on the head with it. And so it fit perfectly with what I was going for.
If I remember correctly, the book says that like the one thing I pulled from the book was the eyes. So in non-high torment form, Trimdeziel is like, it feels like she's looking at you, but her eyes are never quote unquote looking at you. And in the high torment version, it talks about how the eyes never stop looking at you. They look like they're looking through you, like they know everything, like they've bored a hole through you, but they also know everything about you as they bored through you. I wanted the appearance of Trimdeziel in her angel forms to be more reminiscent of kind of like the sirens, or like those old ideas, or like the kind of fantasy idea of like the lady on the cliff who's kind of like looking out over the sea. It was kind of the inspiration for what I wanted the character, which is why she doesn't have wings. It's why I kind of also, it's not really why I didn't ever use the power, but it was just kind of, it's supposed to be more kind of like serene and approachable, but at the same time not approachable, because they are tied into the water nymph mythos and things. I kind of wanted to tie a little bit of that siren-y type vibe to it. I will say I really appreciated how Shanky changed the high torment version, because I originally had always just thinking she just grew a fucking tail, but having the tail be like her hair was actually really cool. So
And for the viewers, I did allow the players to use from the Demon the Fallen Player's Guide custom apocalyptic forms using the rules for that. So that's why some people were very close to what you'd expect on a high torment form, but some weren't, because they were allowed to shape what they felt their character would have. And finish around the table. Who else got an inspiration for their form?
So for me, the Low Torment, I kept all the stats and stuff for the base model, I guess you could say, but I wanted to make her very non-threatening and soft looking, and think of like the soft creatures of the night, I guess. So, like rabbits and bats and that kind of thing. And then for high torment, definitely more your stereotypical skeletal looking reaper style. So
Very cool.
You also like leaked darkness, didn't you? Like constantly. There's just shadows pouring off of you like smoke.
yeah,
or something.
so in Low Torment, it's like shadowy tendrils, but I kind of like imagine it to be very soft, like, so not La Sombra, but like just very like just like breath of air kind of, like very soft and comforting. But then for low torment, it's dark, like you can't like even like
Yeah.
like fog, right? So.
Two-dimensional kind of dark.
My own was for my low torment, I very much had an idea in my head of an illusion of strength almost. I wanted to combine a few facets from a few different things I could think of. One being the 1984 Wonder Woman, her and her golden armor. Um, Michelle actually called this one. The wings are reminiscent of something from Diablo in like Tyrael in the high heavens and their type deal. And there's just this radiating aura of strength, regality about her. And then the high torment version is almost like the illusion is pulled back, sort of. And a lot of what Kathleen said here is something that I kind of applied. It's sort of like seeing the actual siren for what it is, sort of this bloated, not necessarily bloated, but like dead corpse-like appearance. This armor isn't armor, it's these scales that are fused and burnt into her body. Her color shifts from like this golden regal color to like a light glowing blue, and she grows wicked claws, teeth, and she becomes what one would expect when they're dragged under the ocean by a siren. So that was kind of my idea.
Awesome.
Nabas, did you have any inspiration, or you just went with it?
Oh, she said hers.
I answered mine.
See?
Yeah.
I'm mad I didn't get to be a player, because I actually had an idea for my own demonic form that I'd like to use. I've always been a fan of the Oppenheimer quote, because it shows just how haunted of a man he was. And so I would have modeled any demon I played after Vishnu, the destroyer of worlds, because I felt the Oppenheimer and the creation of nuclear bomb shows exactly the end result in a lot of ways of what the fall accomplished. Man always outstripped their knowledge, outstripped their own ability to control what they did. And I would have gone with Vishnu, because it's such a thing you remember if you ever watch like Oppenheimer talk about it. So
You should read the actual mythology of it.
Oh, I know. I've read bits and pieces of it.
All right. So Ravnos Archon asks, given the events of the season and with the upcoming seasons, does anyone want to try a different house? We're not doing that.
Nope. They will be back as the same characters they were in season 1. If they're in season 2, they're in the same people.
Mm-hmm.
They're in season 3, the same people. They will have the option of having a different thrall body, because there's always
and possibly a different faction.
Right. There's always a chance you had a different thrall. You ended up in a different body, but the demons themselves, the fallen angels, are the same. That's just a rule I have in general for my chronicles, that the players are always at the core the same player, unless they're guest players, and we don't have those in this right now. Like we have room for it or time.
To answer your question in a more hypothetical sense, yes, I would have very much liked to play a Slayer next season, but I'm stuck with this Earth guy, so I'll deal with them.
I guess. I suppose.
Honestly, considering the amount of combat, I kind of wish I was playing a Devourer. It would not have been anything like Genevieve. I don't want anybody to think, oh, you just ended up playing Gangrel like 1.0 or whatever. No. I had a really cool idea that if I ever played Demon again, which it's like never gonna happen, I would probably push to play that character, honestly. So yeah.
I think people need to get over the fact that Gangrel aren't the only things that draw inspiration from nature.
Yeah. All right. Junie asks, with everything Shanky threw at the cast, who still has faith that they are doing the right thing and redeeming themselves? So who are our reconcilers? I know Synthraziel was. Anyone else a reconciler?
Nobody. Come on.
And there we go. Mama blows out all the.
Sorry.
fix this?
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is the resounding nope, because we aren't even trying.
No. So I would actually argue that Trimdeziel believes it can be fixed. It's not going to be fixed by the demons. It's going to be fixed by humans because she is a Faustian.
That same.
So she is very much on this can be fixed. It's it's totally fucked up, but it's like on people to fix it. And I've kind of been working on that idea in my head a little bit, and I think I've come up with really how it crystallizes for Kathleen for Trimdeziel going forward, especially based on what happened in season 1. So yeah.
Next spoiler on that one. You will see Trimdeziel in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
First reveal.
Yeah, Arazeth is also a Faustian and also believes that it is up to the people to fix. We have to inspire faith and righteousness in the people so that they can take their own power to make it right. And that was very interesting having the reveal of the Garou, the werewolves and were creatures, because that made Arazeth think people already did, and it failed. So she's having a little bit of a crisis of her own convictions a bit.
I'd say Nibos is too, but like in a different way. So because they're a cryptic, like it's more just about like the general like exploration of information and like new experiences, just like learning new things in my mind. But like that has caused negative things that Nibos did not see in advance. And I think that's kind of messing with them a little bit. Like the whole thing with Synthraziel, which I still feel really bad about as a player. I did not think about it. And then like the car accident and like doing things to like experience new things and to kind of learn more hasn't worked out in the best way. So like not question like what's good for like the world, but like how their actions impact the world is being questioned.
There was no other faction for me to choose with Carsador because Cryptic just fit too well. Also because I very much made a stereotypical malefactor. So I went for a person that would be very likely to be possessed by a malefactor. I chose, an attitude and nature, demeanor, all that shit that I felt fit a malefactor. And then Cryptic, I was like, well, he's knowledge obsessed. Of course he's in this faction. And it's a little odd because most of his opinions boil down to, I don't care how we fix it, let's learn what we fucked up. And then it will get fixed. I'm less concerned about the why and more the how and the what.
You're less worried about the solution. You just want to find the root cause of what made it go wrong, and then let someone else figure out how to fix it. Because if you know the problem and you identify how it started, somebody else can figure out how to fix it. Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
Synthraziel, as the only reconciler in the party, apparently, thinks that it's kinda has to be the Fallen who fix it because the humans have had the run of it for a long time, and look what's happened. So she's very much in that line now. The only problem she's having right now is, she wants to believe that Lucifer coming back means that she can fix it, that it can be fixed by them, but she doesn't. I don't know that she thinks she can believe that. She's comparing and contrasting to the first time that Lucifer tried to fix it and the consequences of that, and then on top of that going, okay, maybe we need a totally new direction, and that this path just leads to more ruin. So it's definitely a big conflict for her right now.
And on top of all that, after everything that you went through, the war, the abyss, how much do you actually trust Lucifer anymore?
Exactly. It's been a very long time, and that SOB was not there. He doesn't know how much that we suffered, so.
All right. Ravnos Archon, of course, being the innuendo king. How many bananas were eaten on this season's Tuesday nights? Not nearly enough, Ravnos Archon. I was really run ragged doing all the games and didn't buy my bananas timely like I usually do. So, yeah, no, it wasn't nearly enough.
There was a lot of takeout during
There
this
was
last
a
couple
lot
weeks.
of takeout during the past month or two. Okay.
Fun fact: if exactly one of your eyes starts twitching, it's reminiscent of a potassium deficiency. So
I have
get some of
full
that.
body paralysis when I get too low on potassium.
Oof.
I seize up.
So, and
But
oddly
bananas
enough,
aren't
also,
actually your best source of potassium.
they're just a source.
All right. So let's see. I think it's D. Sesso. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. Did anyone have issues reconciling the power of actions with the character's human side?
That's
That's a
deep.
good question.
That's deep.
I'm going to say yes. There isn't much of Virginia actually left in Arizeth. Arizeth has a legacy of 4. And in the case of the possession, Virginia was pretty much gone. Having Virginia's daughter recognize when Arizeth is higher on her torment scale was really hard for her. Because she has the opportunity that she always wanted to be able to rear children, to teach them, to nurture them, and help them grow into what they can truly become. And for them to be able to see that which is tormented within her, that was hard for her. She deflected because she was not going into that with a child. But it hit her hard.
I'll go back to like it's just the easiest example, and it's so blatant, is when she killed her friend, like, because that she knew that she could do it and be fine. She wasn't thinking about her friend. And so like seeing like how like selfish that was, and like how using her ability like would be fine for her but couldn't make it better for everyone else. And like on top of that, with like tying that back into like that someone who like was in a trauma group, like kind of background information. It was like in a trauma group with Nibas or Alice, I guess. And they had worked through things together. And on top of that, like having the same name as Alice's sister who died in front of Alice, like that hit hard. And like when I suggested it as a player, I was like, oh, like, yeah, like this could be cool and like theory to like see the potential like play off of like the human side or the demon side. I didn't realize like how in depth it would go with it. But yeah, no, like that, I'm still reconciling as a player how the boss can get through it. Honestly,
It was
'cause it's a lot.
a great scene.
For Synthraziel, possessing a human was probably the best thing that could have possibly happened to her. She was a ball of anger and rage for so long, and then to have that tempered by her human emotions definitely affected her in a very good way. And even though so much of that has turned into this suffering and trauma, I'd say that reconciling her demonic powers with her human form has been nothing but good for Synthrazial. So that's definitely the way she feels about it. And it helps that she can kind of look at herself not just as a fallen, but on the opposite end as almost like a superpowered human, which is something she didn't really have before.
Have I answered yet? And of course, the married couple shakes their heads in unison, like some sort of weird, like ESP bullshit.
Hey, kids, this is your brain on Maddox.
This is your brain on Maddox with a
We're
side of
just
bacon.
here to freak you out, Maddox. That's all.
Here's your brain on Maddox. Not very addictive, but damn, is it hyper. Predominantly, I don't feel that there was anything that he ever felt brought him into conflict with his human side. Because aside from, like, you know, some fond memories here and there, like Virginia said she had 4 legacy, I had 3. And that's still, like Karsora said, I remember the broad strokes of the war. It sucked. And beyond that, the human side didn't influence him nearly as much as he probably should have let it, because he stuffed down his emotions and then they exploded all over people. And not in the fun way. But it's so weird. I read so much on like pragmatism, stoicism, and stuff like that, just to get an understanding of how something that is slow and efficient works. And that's the mentality I just kept with Carsador in all of the actions he did for Clark as well. Because even the difficult scenes where, like, he had to interact with his sister again and all that stuff and start saying, yeah, I was an asshole, blah, blah, blah. It's not from an emotional place of him being like, I want to repair this rift, and more, this thing is destroyed and broken. I need to fix it just out of a personal sense of responsibility as a creator of the universe. Because if he wasn't ever one of the creatures or creations tasked with creating the world for humanity, I don't think he would have had that sense of responsibility to it. Not in the same way, at least.
For Juliriel and Michelle, it's it seems to be a very give and take situation. So Juliriel, given the fact that she was a 7th house, is very, oh no, you can go first, and laid back and kind of shy and quiet. So the fact that Michelle, who was a performer and being out there and interacting with these people, it was a very strange thing for Julio to feel the need to like step forward for herself. With sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Breach.
She's only 2 legacies, so it's a very like medium. A lot of the human is affecting Juliriel, and what Michelle used to be, Juliriel is also affecting as well. So it's a duality there.
I'm legacy 2, or sorry, Trumdeziel is legacy 2. I'm like legacy 0. I would actually say no, not really. I feel like what Trumdeziel wants and what Kathleen wants are both semi on the same track for the time being. And so yeah, it's good time all around. So I don't really think that I'm having an issue reconciling the character, the human and the demon. So
And I have to say, talking about the power in general, first time running this game, all of us first-time players, I don't think any of us went into it really understanding the power level of a demon compared to a mortal. Right off, first episode, Arazeth, first scene Arazeth's in, cures somebody's cancer.
Yeah, that was a big whoops.
Yeah, by accident.
By accident.
You cured cancer by accident.
Yeah. I mean, none of us knew going into it how it plays out with the power. First time Synthrazio goes up against another demon and True Name gets popped out. I mean, this kind of shit going on. This is, none of us were really sure about it. And I will say, I like how the players, they used their powers, but they didn't go buck wild with their powers. They used them when it made sense for their character in the scene rather than, oh shit, let me unleash the power. I've got the power. I'm going He-Man on this motherfucker. Or She-Ra, given the table makeup. I'm going She-Ra on this motherfucker. And we're going to just show everybody who's in charge. And I love that the players
I always like
reined it
Frosta
back.
more.
Like who?
Frosta more.
Nah, the real trick is, can you channel Thundercats?
Okay, I love Thundercats as a kid.
Okay, I have a question of my own I want to ask.
Okay.
Ooh.
Anyone have any regrets joining this fucking game?
Fuck no. This game was awesome. I'm having so much fun. I am fucking ready for the next however many seasons it takes to get through this. It is badass.
Morgan didn't answer.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I
yeah.
thought you didn't.
No, I
My
just said
apologies.
that I didn't feel like my character was having trouble reconciling.
Ah, got you. Okay. Um,
I regret us not bringing the building down on that fucking Earthbound. I feel like a building would have stopped it a lot faster than blowing up my fucking hand.
Oh, you're fine, probably.
I have only one regret, and that is that we did not slurp down that fucking guy we got True Name from. That is the only regret I have, because that fucker went off and got changed.
Yeah, the butcher.
Sure did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fucker.
I was like, that's the only, I knew it as soon as he walked off. I'm like, fuck.
Spoiler, you will find out what happened to the butcher during the one shot.
He failed!
That is now scheduled
so
for
excited.
December
I'm so
3rd.
excited.
Yeah.
The one shot will be December 3rd. There's another spoiler, everybody.
Yeah.
Casting
His
call will
fellow-
go up.
His fellow devourer ankle biter was the one who ate him. Since I
You
made
shall
that
find
joke
out.
a long ass time ago.
You shall find out what happened to the butcher during the one shot. For those that don't know, the one shot is going to show the events of the first season from the point of view of servants of an Earthbound.
From
Not the one they
Raveners.
killed. The servants
Oh boy.
of the more powerful Earthbound and how the manipulation behind the scenes went on to manipulate the situation to where it is that what came out.
Does that mean someone's going to play that malefactor?
No, I will be the Earthbound itself.
I more meant the Rocky guy who.
I
kept
love
fucking
that
us.
guy's apocalyptic form. I'm like, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
be
He's
on
awesome.
a mountain.
I'm an earth elemental. Fight me.
Yeah, it makes the guy whose skin looks slightly tan from lots of travel be like, well, I feel insufficient. The lore of the
Am I
Forge is the
under rocked?
freakiest.
Oh god.
But no, this was an amazing group. It was an amazing story. It was fantastic to play out. It really was. And I got to explore different aspects of a character that I'd never explored before, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
And let's be fair, everybody. Normally I run Vampire Wraith where there's a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't do due to the society as a whole. This season, you were playing demons only restrained by your own common sense and your own willingness to flex your lore of creation. There was no court. The Inquisition
no
is
rules.
nothing. There was no real rules. It's what you could do or what you couldn't do. And it's rare at a shanky table to play in a game where you are the apex of the game. And up until the Earthbound fight, you all were the apex predators of the game.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah, every fight we entered, I wasn't worried until the Earthbound.
Yeah. I
We were
wasn't even
getting
that
shot at.
I
at
wasn't
one
even
point.
that worried about the malefactor. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's gonna toss me down the hall. Great. You know what? I'll come back swinging. It's fine.
Oh no, distance. It's not like I have wings.
Or
Exactly.
command of wind. Come on, baby.
It's
I will
rare you
admit there
get
was
to
a
do
little
that.
bit. There was a little bit of fear when the massive like windstorm maelstrom. I'm like, that dude's got level 5.
Yeah,
in
yeah, that
I'm
one
like,
worried
okay,
me.
Maybe he's pretty strong,
I was like, really? The only other fucking scourge, and it's got to be an asshole.
right? It's ridiculous.
See, Carceders looked at that like, oh great, the Scourges are throwing a tantrum. Nothing has changed. He didn't say that because he works with a Scourge, but that's what he thought.
Oh gosh.
I do not regret joining the table or trying out. Demon's been a lot of fun. I know I've spent a lot of the season mentally playing catch up, as it were, because I'm trying to like wrap my head around what a demon can do. I still am probably at times playing on the safer side, pretending like there's some sort of level of masquerade or something, but that kind of works for the character. I found that actually works for the character, especially with her psycho ex-husband out there. So yeah.
The one time your group, your choir, as I like to call it, because I think that's a great name for a group of fallen angels, used their power in a very obvious way. I rolled your stalker flaw and he was watching, and I'm like, God, the one time you all did like a big display of shit and the dice rolled against you.
Yeah, and if he ever gets to find out what I'm capable of doing, he's gonna realize I can't do any of that fucking laser light show bullshit.
No, you can do much worse to
You
him.
can do much worse.
Because you can fuck with his brain in ways just without using full demon powers, just
Oh, I know.
the addition
I
of
know.
your various charisma and your persuasions to do fucked up shit to him.
It's so perfect that the most human and humane in many ways of our group is also the one that I think has probably the most ruthless powers at her disposal. Like, you know, Arazeth and I, yeah, earth, wind, whatever, we're physically threatening, but Trimdeziel is like existentially threatening.
Yes.
That's way more dangerous.
She
in
can
my
make
mind.
it so that his own clothes touching his skin hurts.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
that's just horrifying.
Jesus.
it's awesome. It's awesome. All right, I don't
Obviously,
see
no
any
regrets
more
for me.
questions down there. What were you saying, Corey? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said obviously no regrets from me.
Okay.
I'm going to announce now the other player who's joining us for season 2. Carsador will be back for season 2. Now,
And me.
and Rilyn. Now, that doesn't mean you won't get to see more Synthrazio, Nabas, or Drulariel because, well, season 3 and 4 and how many other we end up going through to do the Days of Fire, you will see return appearances in later seasons by people in the other seasons. We have a cast of, we've got 9 characters total that are in the cast. And as seasons progress, you will see those players in and out of the group all contributing to the story. So with each season, the table will slightly change. 1 or 2 people switched in or out, 1 or 2 people added, that kind of thing. And over time, you'll get to see them all come back. So players' questions. We still got to see if anyone else has player questions before we end this, because we only had 2 player questions. We've had so many viewer questions from this one. Which
I
is
don't
good.
really have any questions.
I asked my question.
Yeah.
I know my choir well.
I could do another mechanical thing if you want, but I don't know if that's necessarily what everyone's coming here to like talk about.
I feel like by the nature of like what this game is and like how you're playing like characters with such like a dark past and like just like that core to them that's like so on its face, you know what their trauma was.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot, like understanding the other characters a lot.
And why they do what they do.
Yeah.
That's part of why I wanted to run this, and part of why I've always been interested in Demon is the fact that at its core, pride affected even the angels. But from your point of view, most of you fell for love, whether it was love of Lucifer, love of humanity, love of whatever it was for creation itself. And that's why I went with Demon, the Road to Hell, because all of you had the best of intentions. Every single one of the fallen angels, for whatever reason, had the best of intentions. And looking back, there's some of you have guilt, some of them have straight PTSD trauma, Some have anger, hate over what happened, but ultimately you all fell for what you felt was the best reasons. And I love that that's the basis of the game. And that goes back to, that dark inner side, because you fell for the best of reasons. But what each of you did during the war is horrifying, because it got worse and worse. And
Horrible
then
things for the right reason.
yeah. And then you got put in the abyss, and it was even worse.
Welcome to nothing. It's now your prison.
Yeah. And I've always loved the idea of a story of inherently, you've got the darkness in you, but can you overcome what once was, your failures? And that's why I wanted a story without, Raveners in it. I wanted to show a redemption arc if it's possible. Can you be redeemed? And that's a good question.
I like to think the answer is a solid maybe.
So there's my question. I want to go
Possibly.
around the table. I want each of you, the players, does your character feel you can be redeemed for what happened, for what you've
No.
done?
Not at all.
No.
Redemption is a luxury none of us have. We need to fix our problem and mess that we made.
So there's your
What's done is done.
two of your answers. What about the rest of you? Do you feel does your character feel you could be redeemed?
My
Redem-
character. Sorry.
Go ahead.
My character is still trying to figure out what would need to be redeemed. I was doing my duties and still trying to figure out why the frick I ended up not, staying.
Yeah, Slayers definitely had the sort of they're being punished because they were around more than they actually did anything fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Redemption's a weird word for Synthrazial. I think she hopes that she can. She, in her heart of hearts, she hopes that she can fix everything and it'll be just as good as it was before or better. But I think realistically, she understands that redemption is too strong of a word. All she can do is move forward and hope to put things right, regardless of whether or not she deserves any redemption or needs that. She needs to fix things regardless of whether she lives or dies or is destroyed or is redeemed.
Forgiveness may be lost to you, but that doesn't mean you can't make amends. Interesting. I like that. Nabas and Trimdesiel?
So I guess Nivas doesn't think that there's anything that she's done or anything that anyone's done that really prevents them from ever being redeemed. The problem is that it's really hard to do enough to be redeemed without continually making mistakes. Because after that real first mistake and negative, it just caused an unintended spiral over murder, violence, all of this stuff where it's really hard to not fall into it again. Once the floodgates opened, it's impossible not to. And so she doesn't think that inherently it's impossible to be redeemed, just that it's very hard given the propensity to continue to do bad, even accidentally.
It turns out even the maker, his first creations, what were supposed to be the finest creations, were created flawed too.
Look, Trimdesiel doesn't know why she's here, so I never really decided what she did or didn't do during the war. So in her eyes, it's kind of redemption is probably not necessarily possible, quote unquote, because it appears that the gates of heaven are closed, as it were. So what is she trying to be redeemed to? She just doesn't want to go back to the fucking abyss. With what little she remembers. So she's going to do her best. It's going to look like she's trying to redeem herself, but she's more, if humans can basically turn it around some, she can turn it around some. And so that's kind of the way she's looking at it. So
It's one thing most World of Darkness games, when you create a character, you create a whole backstory for the character. One nice thing about Demon is the inclusion of what's called legacy, which is how much you remember of your demonic side. If you have a low legacy, you don't remember much of what it was to be a demon, so you don't even have to worry about making the background. It can come out as you make legacy rolls, as you do things in game. You don't need that at all. Relin had she had 4 legacy, so she had a lot of her background. Trimdesio doesn't have nearly that much, so she doesn't have. There's most of her background is gaps, and I love that aspect of the game is you don't have to you don't have to know what you did during the war. You did bad things, but what was it? Don't know. Can't remember.
Also, bad is always subjective on who's
That
judging
too.
you. So that's kind of why what Trimdesiel does remember. That's why I specifically made the comment to the pastor that I was Lamasu or whatever and he was like, oh, so you're a defiler, and I'm like, I don't really own that name, bitch, but
I don't defile shit. Back
That
off.
was the name that you were cursed with by the creator and Michael. That doesn't mean you have to accept that name for sure.
Yeah, I personally, I like relish backstory. It's like my jam.
Well, yours kind of required the higher legacy too.
No, I
what
did,
you did.
because I found something and I'm like, ooh, what if mine was doing that?
Oh, here, as a quick side to that, yeah, Carsador respects you, likes you, but God, you're frightening. Because he wasn't into that whole Nephilim thing from the start, and then it happened. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what I thought would happen. So, congrats. He's now working with something that scares him.
Now, and for those who know the lore, Lucifer did not ask for the Nephilim to be created, though.
But that might have been what Arazeth was told.
But Arazeth thinks Lucifer wanted them created and then destroyed them afterwards. And that's a bit of story that won't come out in season 2 for sure.
No, it'll be much later. But
it may come out during the end of days when more and more of the dukes and the Fell Knights, the barons, and then eventually some dukes start coming out of hell. More info will come out. Now I'm going to give the full cast for season 2 is going to be Arazeth, Carsador, and Trimdesiel. We will also be joined by House. You've seen him on Wraith. You've seen him in Black Death Chronicles stuff. He's actually been on a number of things in here. He beat me up once in a Bedlam Hall game. He'll be back. He'll be in season 2. We'll have Timber Brad. You've seen him in Windy City and Werewolf. He's in season 2.
And Mage. And
a very first time player at our table here, Cold Graveyard, is the 6th and final person for season 2. It's his it'll be his premiere on McStabber Studios, unless he signs up for a game between now and then. It'll be his first appearance on our channel, and he will be the 6th player at the table. Yeah. And season 2, so you know, we will be doing a season 2 summary.
Season 1 summary.
Or season 1 summary. I hate to announce it this far out, but it's what it is. The season 1 summary will be December 6th, with season 2 beginning December 13th. And it's spaced that far out because we have Mage season 4 coming
in October.
In October, and there's not enough time for me to start season 2 before Mage starts. So we're going to start up this one for season 2 after Mage. So there's the big spoiler about who's going to be there. But like I said, Synthrazio, Nabas, and Drillariel, expect to see them again in later seasons because we've got enough cast that we can interchange between seasons so that you can see the dynamic as time goes on and how each one of them plays a role in the end of times. So that should be fun. Any last questions from the players?
Did everyone have fun?
Hell yes.
That includes you too, Shanky. Storytellers are a player too.
I enjoyed it. It was a system I've wanted to play ever since I've read of it. As Relin and them, as multiple people who joined us Zoom have said, if I could be any supernatural creature, I probably would have been a demon. If I could be any of the World of Darkness supernaturals, demon probably fit me because I'm defined by my regret over the past. And there's Cold Graveyard right there, as we've mentioned him. He's going to be season 2. And yeah. I'm looking forward to what he brings on his, unless he signs up for something between now and then. Like I said, in his season 2 premiere on our
Speak
channel.
of the devil.
Yep.
Uh,
But let me, as storyteller, say it has been a privilege to play, to be storyteller for these players at this table, to see each of them telling their own story in their own way with Demon. It is at times not an easy system. It's one of the older editions, so it's a little more clunky and complicated at times. But I do love watching what each of them brought to the table. And as always, it's a privilege to be able to run games for people like at my cast here.
I will say Ravnos Archon gave us high praise. He says he just wanted to say thank you to everyone because he did not want to like Demon. He has been very vocal about how much he doesn't like Demon because it ended Wraith. But that we made it impossible to not like.
Got him.
Kicking yourself for not applying, huh?
Seasons 3 and 4 are still up in the air.
Yeah, but we're not opening a casting call unless drastic
people
things
drop out.
happen.
Mhm.
Because right now we've got 9 players we can cycle through all the seasons, and we won't need a casting call. But watch out for the casting call to open up for the Demon one-shot. It's going to be a Euro-friendly time for our European viewers. It'll be on December 3rd at a Euro-friendly time, but I'm sure there will be other one-shots because I love doing between season one-shots. It's a great thing to do. It gives people a chance who didn't get in the cast to play with us, so I love doing those. But it looks like
It's time for you to take us
Yep,
out.
it looks like we are done. So we're at about 2 hours anyway, which is good for a Q&A. Actually, yeah, it's right about where we like to end Q&A. So as always, everybody, join our Discord. This show was cast from our Discord. That is where we got all these people. They saw a casting call go up. They applied. In the case of Demon, it was an audition process. Some streams don't have you audition. Some do. It all depends on who's running the game and the type of game. But join us on our Discord. We do weekly Zoom hangouts where you may see some people you've watched on stream, and you'll just meet a bunch of community members where we just hang and talk some shit, just hang out. We do non-streamed community games when we get a chance. Our pace has been rather busy over the summer. The summer pace is easing up, which means we'll be able to do some community games here before too long. And of course, catch our back episodes, pop over to YouTube. We do a lot of World of Darkness, but it's not all we do. We cover a lot of different systems. Everything except for D&D and Call of Cthulhu is on the main McStabber Studios YouTube. But if you like Call of Cthulhu or D&D, pop over to Ishvel, because Dr. Tiss, our British storyteller and GM and DM, she puts them on Ishvel, and that's where she stores her videos. So you can check them out. If you want to see some amazing content creators, 2 of them are right here at this table. Trimdesiel, the Ivy Raven, and Nabas, Mischievous Red. Pop over to their channel. Give them a follow here on Twitch. Talk with them. They stream random times whenever they feel they want to stream. They talk about things that are not necessarily just role-playing related. It's just a good chance to go and hang out with them and, show them some love. That's just the way that is. Want to get some merch? We don't have any Demon merch yet, but I'm sure we're going to get some together here.
Now that I'm
between
going to get
seasons.
some downtime, I may actually come up with some. Like, I so swear that "Call Me" needs to be on a shirt.
With a guy going out the window.
You draw it, I'll put it on a shirt.
I'll find something.
Or an old rotary phone with devil horns instead.
Oh,
Yes,
That's
I
a good
like
one,
that.
too.
I like that.
That's a good one too.
Who you gonna call?
Yep. So bits and donations, those go to the players, not to the studio. It is a way for you, the viewer, to show thanks to the players who are on the show. None of us make really any money on this between costumes and everything else. It's a losing proposition, but we do it because we enjoy it. But bits and donations, they go to the players. If you want to give something to the studio, you subscribe here on Twitch, or of course pop over to our Ko-fi. That's how you support studio. But we will never content lock anything behind a paywall. That way, if you can give, you can. If you can't, you can't. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. We don't believe in separating everything like that. So that's important. And if you're a Prime member, you get a free Twitch subscription. Why not share it with us? It's up to you. And now I can turn it over to my lovely wife, because she's going to do our schedule as we're rolling off here.
Yep, once I pull it up. Give me just 1 second.
She's
Okay.
still getting caught up.
I was typing all the commands in Twitch chat. All right. So thank you so much for joining us for the live cast Q&A for season 1 of Demon the Fallen, The Road to Hell. Coming up over the next week on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Dune, Blood-Soaked Sands, run by the amazing Ravnos Archon. It has Shanky and myself at that table, along with Junie Von Esch and Alexian Starr. We are now basically in the sands of Arrakis because we have vacated the ducal estate and are trying to play the survival game, and we all have just destroyed a face dancer.
Well, not we all, you did.
Okay, yeah, I destroyed a face dancer. But yeah.
We've got people trying to assassinate people every damn episode, but
yes,
it's Dune.
It's Dune, yeah. and it was fun having the voice off and winning.
It's almost like the Bene Gesserits are there for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm just a nice guy. Nothing wrong with me.
Just an assassin.
Just a twisted mentat who's also an assassin. Nothing wrong with that. I'm above board.
And I'm just a reverend mother. You know, that bitch's information was out of date. All right. And then that's at 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday. So join us as we continue from that ending. And then on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have Dr. Tiss. She recently got her PhD. Running Call of Cthulhu 7E, London Esoteric Society. Her group of investigators are investigating cult stuff in Victorian London. And they are wanting to summon elder things and read all the books and going completely insane and burning through luck like most folks want to burn through money. So join them on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern to see what kind of crazy chaos they get into. I swear it's entertaining. And then on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we have Windy City After Dark, Season 7, Episode 10.
Finale.
The season finale of Season 7. Yeah, Mama's about to get a little break, finally.
Some crazy shit's coming down with that.
But yeah, our finale, where we left off last week, there was a lot of stuff that happened. A lot of stuff.
Ashfinders.
Mm-hmm.
Cults. Yeah, cults.
Lots of cult stuff. We're 2 seasons after we anticipated bringing cult stuff in, and now we are like eyeball deep into cult shit. It's crazy. Yeah. So join us for the season 7 finale. You know our finales are usually pretty damn impactful. So join us for that at 5 p.m. Eastern. And that is it for the week.
Whew. After the crazy thing we've been doing the last few weeks and the hectic kind of schedule, it's nice to get it slowed down just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just to take a break because, yeah,
nice
it was a hell of a
breather.
pace. And of course, as always, when we end these episodes, please, everybody, take your mental health seriously and take the mental health of others seriously. Make sure you check in on people around you. Make sure that you reach out to those you haven't heard from for a while and check to see if they're okay, because you never know who's not okay. And one of the first signs you can tell is people will start withdrawing. So just reach out to them. And if you do suffer from mental health issues, like many of us do, myself included, first of all, it's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you need help, because let's be fair, everybody needs help once in a while. We can't carry on through life alone a lot of times. So don't be afraid and don't feel like you can't admit that. If I can do it right here on stream, you can do it too. So reach out to those around you. And if you don't feel you have anyone you can reach out to, because I know a lot of people don't, in chat, there's a list of numbers you can call or text 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And somebody will be on the other end to help you. And you'll notice we have lines that cover just about every kind of crisis you may have, because we really believe in this. And if you're not in the U.S., we do know we have a number of non-United States viewers. There's a website you can go to, plug in your country of origin, and find out the helplines in your country, because mental health is a world thing. Everyone needs to take it seriously and need to take care of it, because mental health is health, everybody. And please make sure you take care of yourselves. And that includes self-care, which means do things for yourself just to recharge your batteries. Those are important. Just take a little time if you can each day. So I now turn it over to my wife for her portion of the outgoing.
Yeah, self care is really not selfish, y'all. It is an important part of taking care of ourselves, doing self care. And self care isn't, just taking care of your hygiene and stuff. It is legit doing something that brings you peace, that brings you joy, that brings you engagement, entertainment, that lets you recenter and just focus in the moment on that thing. And it's strictly for you. It's not for anyone else. And doing that really does help recharge empathy batteries. It allows you to be more engaged and allow you to care more about others. So please do that. Also, if you have access to an employee assistance program, please utilize it if you need counseling, because I know trying to get an appointment with a counselor right now is real fucking hard because a lot of folks are needing counseling services and psychiatry services. Please use your employee assistance hotline because those are available to you for free. Your company pays for them. If you are married to someone that has employee assistance, you can have access to it because it applies to the whole household, spouses, children. Yeah. They can utilize up to a certain number of sessions of counseling through the employee assistance program. And it's confidential. It doesn't get reported to the companies that pay for that service. All they get is a utilization report of how many people are using it. So please consider utilizing that as well, because that is programs that a lot of people underutilize. Please, I'm McStabber, I'm a registered nurse. Please go get your shots. Please get your COVID vaccines, get your boosters. Anyone 6 months and older have been approved to getting vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. Also, please, when you can, get the monkeypox vaccine. Monkeypox is not an STD. It is literally like smallpox. It is a virus that transmits through close contact with people or surfaces that have been contaminated with it. It is airborne droplets. So if someone coughs, sneezes, or just speaks at you with it and they kind of spit a little, guess what? You can get it if they're in your close proximity. So really, you need to get vaccinated. Smallpox is just about a non-issue in the U.S. because of vaccination, and we can make monkeypox the same way. So please get vaccinated. And make sure your other vaccines are up to date because polio is legit. It's not just one case now. There's like a lot of cases in major cities now of polio. So please, please get your other vaccines up to date. And I know a lot of our viewers lean liberal. They're going to vote blue, but just in case that some of y'all are apathetic and think your votes don't count, let's look at Kansas. It was a friggin' primary they tried to stick a ban on abortion to their constitution in, and people turned out in droves to say no to that shit. When you vote, your vote matters. So please, vote this November, vote blue. Let's drown the GOP. Said with love.
Yep. And fuck Putin. Can't forget fuck Putin. He's not out of Ukraine. I'm not done saying it. And in this world, please, everybody, be Mr. Rogers. Be a good neighbor. Do not be like Satine Phoenix and Jameson Stone. We do not need abusers. We do not need narcissists. We do not need those who try to climb on the backs of everyone around them at their expense, chasing their internet fame. That's not what the TTRPG space is about. It's about telling good stories. So please be a good neighbor. Be Mr. Rogers. He told great stories. So from the cast of this, or as a storyteller of this amazing cast, we hope to see you in December for season 2.
And we're so glad you enjoyed this show.
And I am glad. I love the viewer response to it. It's an underappreciated and underplayed game, and one that I'm happy that we're coming back for. So I do thank you all for coming. We will see you next stream, everybody. Good night.